Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays. For those in America, Thanksgiving. Ideally, I'm hoping most of you are spending this time with your family and loved ones. But if you are wanting to get some action today, it's going to be very slow, but we shall see what we can get at least. It's a pretty short week for us, really, knowing that it's holidays, half day today and tomorrow. John, I've just seen your workstation. I love that. I love that setup. So this is the in the trading room. Most of you watching this are going to be members anyway on YouTube. But this is John Stanley's setup, and you know what, I really do love the. I don't know what the word's called, but I love the. It's exactly the same as what I have, bar the screen to the right. But I am a stickler for trading setup, so. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as my setup. I just have, I think they're 24-inch screens, just by the looks of them. I have two 27 stacked, and then a 32 to the left and a 27 to the right. The 27 to the right I don't always use, to be honest. So I think if you weren't streaming like me, you could probably just have two 27s above each other, or like John here, two 24s, I think, and then a 27 to the side. But nice, I like it. Make sure to put your setups in the Trading Rigs channel. I'll post mine later today. I know most of you know what I already have. But I thought that was a nice way for us to interact. I know it's still trading related, but it's nice to see what other people's setups have. Always nice to glean other ideas from other people. Okay, without further ado, I just wanted to do a little bit of a couple minutes breakdown just before we got into the actual analysis. So let's see if we've got, what have we got? 16 people watching. Good morning, guys and girls. Again, it is Thursday, 2 minutes past 2 or 2 minutes past 9, depending on if you're in the UK or the US. And pretty straightforward week in terms of at least support levels, I would say. We've come out of a couple draws here. I've still got the draw from, which is the high from April, and that is pretty much the low where we've came down into. I am also, just for reference, I am going to just draw the, yeah, so if we take off the indicators for a second, so let's take off the long. So you can see we obviously have the wider extensions, which we've broken down every single day for like the past couple of months. I'm not going to go through them again, but out of this year's Q1 halfway back weekly ATR reversal down here in April, we then traded a high to high, which traded on in May, and that took us all the way to the 62 the negative 100 here. That negative 100 trade, once we traded that, we came into our supports in August, and we completed the full negative 100 to the target. So if anyone's new, I think we've had a couple new people join. This is our style of trading, right? Support on the pullback and selling into the retracement highs, right? It really doesn't get any simpler than that, really, for my style of trading. Like it just doesn't, right? And if we zoom out, where are the other levels coming from? Zoom out. We have the entry, and you have the blue line. This is the dark blue line, this line here, which is follow it right. That is where we got sold into. And you have this blue line here. Where does that come from? That is the same extension here, sold into. We then draw our next traditionals, supports on the lows. And where does that get sold into? The blue line here, the light blue line. This isn't hindsight. This is what we did in real time. So just so you're aware, right? A lot of people talk about things that happened but didn't actually trade or do anything, right? But these levels, once you draw a retracement, the extensions are there until they trade, right? So you have sometimes years for these levels to actually be actionable and tradable. So on a smaller time frame on the daily, you can see using those weeklies to then frame the daily. You can see on the indicators we've been bullish on the BX all out of this move. And when it's been green, it's been so much easier to trade. We've been trading the short side for the past couple of weeks, and that's just purely because if you look back on the BX trend, which is a free indicator on TradingView, I just use the histogram settings. 525.25, and it measures momentum, and you can see ever since pretty much the start of November all the way till the end of November, or well, sorry, to the last week of November, we've been pretty much bearish, and it's only really been the end of month rally, which is typically what we do see on the end of months. 26th to the 28th, we do kind of get a bit of a pump into the end of the month, and that's pretty much what we've seen. And you can see that's signified by 1, 2, 3 days of bullishness on the BX. And again, where have we come out of? The negative 100s, the 62s, the 23s are the deeper extensions. Where have the supports come from? Drawing those same anchor new highs. And what I have on my screen is pretty much the most aggressive high to high, which is now same anchor new high. So it was first extension here, 2 targets, red negative 100, same anchor new high, 50 support, never breaks the 62. And of course, if you are paying attention, there is also the full same anchor new high from the first ever draw. And that was like right there. It was like a line in the sand, right? You can see that level on my screen. So you have 2 levels here as your support, and you've got the 50, which is the more aggressive high to high. And you've got the 38, which is that same anchor new high on the first ever extension out of that Trump tweet. So in essentially, when we had that 16% day or 15.7% day on the 9th of April, we have come now into that 38.6% retracement, which is nice to see. So they're the levels that I have on my screen in terms of the supports. And the market has moved from there about 1,500 points. And you'll notice I have a dotted line on my screen. Where does that come from, Callum? Well, that is what was my resistance zone. So the negative 100 from that long was here. Sorry, here. That is the upper end of that channel. So if we mark this out, we have a border on here. Keep it really simple. This is the upper end of it, and that's where that negative 100 comes from. Okay, so I'm going to take the border off just so we don't get confused. But that's what the border is measuring. The border, this zone, is the high end of the extensions and the low end of the most recent extensions. And that's pretty much the draw from the 15th of May to the high of the 31st of July. That whole negative 23 to 100 is my full zone here in terms of resistance. And you could argue that trade now has been done in terms of we've had like what from the highs, we've had a just under 10% correction pullback, which is nice. That is what we want to see. We want to see 10% pullbacks, ideally not anything bigger than 15 to 20, just because potentially then we go into a bear market. But so far that has just been a correction, which is completely normal and we need. And therefore going forward, I'm just going to get some of these drawings off. Therefore, going forward, all I will do now is go down to a half-an-hour time frame and look for those actionable signals. Those actionable signals with the indicators on. We can see that last week we came down, we broke the ETH and RTH low, and also the weekly and the monthly low. We had that look below and got back above. What that means is we went under, failed to go lower, 1, 2, 3 on the lows. So it was like a low here, and a low here, failure to go lower. Came up, back above, so it's kind of like an inverse head and shoulders. You go lower, come back above, then you create a higher low, and then we've gone up about 1,500 points, was it, from the lows? 1466, so just under 1,500 points, and we have pretty much spent all of this overnight session and all of yesterday trading at the weekly high. So when we came to this week on Monday, if we go back to Monday's trading, we can see this is why the indicators, again, not that I'm trying to sell them by any means, but this is why they're so important, because when we came into Monday's session, we knew where our weekly high expectations were. On Monday, we can even go further back. We can go right back to the open. Right back to the open. We knew our weekly high was 420s, 25 420s, right? And you can see as price has moved, that target has been lowered because we created a low, right? We opened and went lower before going higher, so that's why that weekly high is now 330s. Okay, so it was 420s, it's now 330s because when we opened we went a little bit lower before going higher. But you can see we are pretty much pinned at that level, and if we look at what extensions we're in or where we've come out of, it's pretty much been the same anchor new high from Friday's session that traded, and let's go down to, yeah, no, just keep it on to a half an hour. I could probably go down to a 5-minute time frame to be fair. I'm trying to get the full, yeah, I think I'll have to go to a 5 just to try and get the full extension. But in short, we are in long extensions, and it's basically from what was Friday. This is the same anchor new high, which is in line with that true trend. Why is this true? We were obviously green on the BX. We had a 1, 2, 3 go, 1, 2, 3 low on the goes, which basically means a triple bottom tends to, potentially go up. 3 times ATR as well, which did help set the scene on the overnight on Friday. We traded what was a RTH halfway back on Friday, 11 o'clock. We then had full negative 100s, 2 completions, and we had the full same anchor new high, which was inside true trend. That is the reason why, in my opinion, we've gone higher. And then it's just been a case of trying to catch those extensions. Now, I don't think... oh, no, we did. Yeah, we went same anchor new high again. Traded the 38 into the close on Friday. Gapped up on Monday and completed those extensions on what was Tuesday's session yesterday. And we have also just completed the full negative 100. So for those paying attention to these extensions, it is the low of Friday at 11 a.m. to the high of Friday's RTH session, 220, and we have gone full negative 100 on those completions. I would it's a tricky one. We're in long extensions. I'm just trying to find a valid draw that I would be confident enough to take without going into a new day, because I know there is a traditional outside of here. Just have a look on that session, see what we have here. So on Tuesday's session, we did also have this halfway back here, which traded. I even have the markers on here. Traded on Tuesday at 10:30. True trend all the way up to the negative 100, which you can see here. Rejections down into the high to high, which traded. That high to high traded the 50, which is the entry. And that then went all the way to its negative 100. And that's pretty much where we are now. Yes. Literally the exact level. 293s, we're trading 296s, so pretty much the exact level. All I will most likely do is draw, I'm just going to draw the high to high, but I'm also going to draw the same anchor just to see where we are. So same anchor new high has traded here, completed the 23 on the overnight. So I will just draw the full same anchor new high. The chart looks a little bit messy, but I'll clean it up in a second. So we'll draw the full same anchor new high, and all I'm going to do, that currently lines up with, there's 2 negative 100s, which will, if you're new, all you need to pay attention to is that they're basically long completions. So just be aware that, we're in sort of a less favorable zone to be going long, but until those extensions break, you kind of have to bid them in if you're happy bidding them. But all I'm really going to draw on here is the RTH mid, which is what that high to high 38% retracement lines up with. Again, if you're new, this sounds confusing. If you're experienced, that is the high of Tuesday's 20 past 12 high to the overnight high. Sorry, that's Tuesday's high to high from yesterday's session. Sorry, Wednesday. Get my days mixed up. So that's all I'm going to draw for this this morning, and that would line up with the hourly low getting taken. And it would also be an RTH mid. I don't think I'm going to go long on that level. What I would prefer to see is, can we get back above and hopefully get inside true trend? If we get inside true trend, probably means we're going to break the overnight mid, which is fine. I don't mind missing the move. What I would prefer to see, and again, expectations are super small today, but what I would prefer to see is something like this. Maybe we get a break higher. And maybe into the later. I mean, it's going to be a half day, so it's whether this even works out. But that's all I'd be. That's all I'd be really looking for. Some sort of manipulation on the lows, a push higher, a little bit more of a grind, and then a just slow push to the upside. But again, we've only got half a day, so we don't have much. We don't have long to trade this. So just be conscious of that. We're also at the weekly expected high, so also you have to be very conscious of the fact that we're at our average true range for the week. Sam did share some stats with me today that on average we do close. I think it was, I'll have to ask him to put it in the chat, but I think it was 70% of the time we close above the weekly high. But of course, with it being a holiday, I want to say those stats are still valid because they're just stats, right? They go off the data. So technically they should still be valid, but just be aware it is obviously half day today, half day tomorrow. So, but neutral to bullish today. I don't think I'm going to be short biased until something changes. Obviously, that true trend really does need to switch to the bull side before I can actually participate on any longs. A really good lesson this morning in terms of our indicators. If you are new or not as experienced, this may look extremely confusing, but also counter trend in terms of you've got triangle up, diamond down, triangle up, diamond up. Like, it's very confusing. The reason for that is because this is a definition of a no man's land chop zone. And of course, as I always say, news typically follows when the chart is ready. And today I want to say the chart is showing you that it's a half day, right? Without you even knowing that it's a half day, the chart is showing you it by the indicators. Why? Well, because you have mixed signals on every single type of level that you could even imagine, right? So yeah, perfect way of knowing that it's a half day without even knowing it's a half day just by looking at the indicators. So hopefully that's been helpful. Again, neutral to bullish. If shorts show themselves, for sure I'll take them. Just have to be aware that, the daily is now confirmed bullish for the past 3 days. Of course, on a 2-day, it's still just sort of could go either way right now. Could definitely go either way. So we just have to be mindful of that. But so far, the daily it is bullish. We are at weekly highs, and I think the stats are in our favor for us to close above. So any pullbacks potentially are valid, but I would rather actually buy. I'd actually rather buy, as I said, at or near the weekly high as opposed to below it, just so I've got momentum in my favor. So yeah, hopefully that's useful. We'll go live on Whoop. Remember, you've only got 3 days left to get the sale on the current 60% off on most of our programs, bar the monthly, and that will not be back for a while. So please, please, please make use of that offer. Okay, we will go live on Whoop, and everyone on YouTube, click the link in the description below if you want to join, and we will see you over there in a second.